All right, let's talk about it. Dating after 40. You might be feeling like you're at a bit of a disadvantage, right? But what if I told you that your age, all that experience, that's actually your secret weapon? Today, we're going to flip the script and show you how that challenge is really your biggest strategic advantage.
So let's just get right to the heart of it. The big question that I think hangs over a lot of us at this stage is the magic gone? You know that feeling, that little nagging worry that the crazy head over heels spark you felt in your 20s has just faded away for good? But is that really the truth? And look, this feeling is so real. It's this sense of being a bit more reserved, maybe even a little jaded. Just listen to this quote. I don't tend to get carried away like I did when I was in my 20s. Psychologist Dr. Paul Dobransky actually has a name for this. He calls it having a cool eye. You've seen some things, you've been around the block, and because of that, that all-consuming feeling of falling in love can feel a little further away.
So, how in the world do you navigate this cool eye phase? Well, this is what we can call dating's second act. And the main challenge here, you're swimming in a sea of conflicting information. The media, culture, a million so-called experts online, they're all shouting different advice at you. It's overwhelming.
So how do you cut through all that noise? Well, according to Dr. Dobransky, the answer isn't about chasing the latest cultural trend. It's about looking at the timeless science of human psychology, the fundamental principles that show us who we really are, not who culture is telling us we should be. To really get a grip on this science, let's start with a really powerful metaphor for maturity, the Russian nesting doll. Just picture your own psychology as 3 dolls, all nested one inside the other, and each one represents a totally different part of who you are today. Okay, so the biggest doll, the one on the very outside, that's your maturity. Think of it as your CEO, the part of you that uses logic, reason, and diplomacy. It's all that wisdom you've earned through real-life experience, the part that actually allows you to be a fantastic partner. And this part, it really develops later in life. Now, let's open that doll up. Inside, we find the middle doll. This is your emotional self. It's your capacity for deep friendships, your ability to handle your own feelings, and, to truly love someone beyond just raw desire. This is the part of us that really fires up in our 20s and 30s. And then, deep down at the very core, we get to the smallest, innermost doll. This thing is your primitive, instinctual self. It's that raw, passionate, untamed drive, the kind of energy Romeo and Juliet were running on. And listen, this is absolutely crucial. That passionate core, it never, ever goes away. It's a totally normal, healthy part of you. So here's the absolute game changer. Getting older isn't about that inner fire going out. Not at all. It's about learning how to channel it. Your wisdom, that big outer doll, gives you the amazing ability to take all that powerful, primitive energy and direct it in a healthy, constructive way, instead of just letting it run wild like you might have in your youth. Okay, so if maturity is all about integrating these 3 inner selves, how do you actually do that in the real world of dating? Well, this brings us to a super practical toolkit, the KWML personality model. Think of it as a framework to help you understand yourself and, even more importantly, find the right partner who truly complements you. Now, the core idea of this model totally flips what most of us think we know. When we're younger, we often look for people who are just like us. But for a real, lasting, mature partnership, we actually need our opposite. We need someone who brings a totally different set of skills to the table, creating this incredible team, instead of just creating more competition. So here's the cheat sheet. It's pretty simple. You've got 4 types. The warrior is your analytical action taker, and they pair perfectly with the lover, who's a creative nurturer. Then you have the magician, a creative action taker, and their ideal partner is the king or queen, who is an analytical nurturer. See how each pair just perfectly balances the other out? All right, so you're starting to figure out your type, and you know who you're looking for. But where do you actually find them? This is where the rubber meets the road. Let's get into the field guide for finding your opposite. Okay, if you're a warrior, maybe you're a business exec, an attorney, an athlete, you live on logic and competition. Your opposite, the lover, is all about creativity and nurturing. So you're going to find them in places that are the total opposite of a boardroom. Think about it. Yoga classes, art workshops, poetry readings, places that will definitely stretch your comfort zone and pull you into a world of intimacy and creativity. Now, let's flip that. If you're a lover, an artist, a musician, a writer, your superpower is creativity and nurturing. To find your warrior, you've got to go where they live, in the arenas of action and competition. Go to a sporting event. Seriously, go sit in on a court case, or maybe check out a business networking event. That's where the action takers thrive. Are you a magician? You know, the performer, the natural salesperson, someone who just comes alive in the spotlight and needs an audience? Your perfect complement is the grounded, wise king or queen. And you can find them in places that value quiet, knowledge, and patience. A library, a university lecture, or even just a calm coffee shop where people are actually reading and thinking. And finally, if you're a king or queen, maybe a doctor, a therapist, an HR director, you're nurturing and you're analytical. You provide that wisdom and stability. So to find your dynamic magician opposite, you got to go where they perform. Try an improv class, go to a live music venue, check out a dance class. You'll find them when the energy is high and there's an audience. So let's just pull all of this together for a second. From the Russian dolls to these personality types, there is one single powerful theme running through it all. Your age and your experience are not weaknesses. They are your superpower. This is what we're calling the wisdom advantage. A fantastic way to think about this is the tree climbing analogy. In your youth, you're just learning how to climb the tree of relationships. It's exciting, but you're clumsy. In adulthood, you get pretty good at it. You master the climb. But in maturity, after 40, you're not even focused on the struggle of climbing anymore. You become a connoisseur. You can finally appreciate the fine details, the leaves, the branches, the view from the top. And you know, this brings us right back to the core fear we started with, the one thing that holds so many of us back. It's that sinking feeling of, I've just lost too much time. I don't have another 20 years to figure all this stuff out again. But here it is. This is probably the most powerful takeaway of this entire explainer. Your wisdom creates unbelievable efficiency. You are not starting from scratch. Because you've climbed that tree before, you can spot what works and what doesn't almost instantly. What used to take you years to figure out, you can now learn in just a few days. Efficiency is your saving grace. So, you see, you're not at a disadvantage at all. You are more equipped right now than you have ever been. You have the map, you have the tools, and you have the wisdom to make better choices faster. The only real question left is, knowing what you know now, what's the first step you're going to take?